Hello, this is Mr. Maximus Film. It's been a while since I've done any sort of album review, and really lately I've been into talking about music, discovering new music. So I think it's a good opportunity to kind of start this all over again, maybe with a little new perspective, because a lot of those old videos, for those of you who've watched them, were done when I was super naive and when I didn't know a whole lot about music, and it was kind of more of an exploration thing, kind of describing what I was hearing on these records. And I didn't get it right all the time, as people pointed it out to me a lot. So recently I went to the Pitchfork Festival in Chicago, and one of the main reasons I went there, I went on the Sunday. And there were a lot of great bands playing that day. Deaf Heaven were fantastic. Grimes was really good, as well as Kendrick Lamar. Dive was playing there. They were really good. But the main reason I went there is because of Slowdive. I have been listening to this particular album, Souvlaki, for around a year now, and it's one of my favorites. It seems like the last couple of videos I've been posting on this channel have been about shoegaze. But it's a genre that I'm enamored with. I love it. You know, there's precious few things in shoegaze that I really dislike. I really like the whole aesthetic of it. And, you know, there's pretty much three albums that people talk about a lot. It's Rides Nowhere, it's Loveless, and it's Souvlaki. Souvlaki is probably my favorite of the kind of Holy Trinity. It's a lot more dreamier than the kind of more My Bloody Valentine side of things. It's really influenced by the more ethereal music coming out of Britain at the end of the 80s, Cocktail Twins, and stuff like that. But they take it to a much more noisier shoegazing type of level, but they kind of carve their own place in the shoegazing sphere by really making it ethereal, noisy, and beautiful all at the same time. And the thing to me that stands out about Slowdive, compared to a lot of the other shoegazing bands, is that they had great songs. You know, a lot of the other shoegazing records that came from less notable bands, like Chapter House and, you know, Catherine Wheel. I mean, I like those records, but Slowdive just had better songs. The songwriting was a lot better. You know, songs like Allison, the lyrics are fantastic. They're really dreamy and spacey, but they're poetry. They're great stuff. And they, you know, have these great songs like Allison, you know, with these walls of feedback that crescendo beautifully in the background, as well as having these great lyrics and captivating kind of moods from Neil Halstead and Rachel Goswell. But they also knew how to just space out and create really noisy, trippy stuff, like on the track Souvlaki Space Station. So they were kind of, for me, they did it all. They had the songwriting, they had the experimentation. Brian Eno was brought on here, and, you know, you can feel his influence even on the tracks that weren't processed by him. I think he worked on Sing and Here She Comes Now, and, you know, you can tell that Eno was there, you know, adding his Enosification, as Genesis called it, on the tracks. But you can feel his influence. There's a lot of influence from ambient music on this record. Songs like Melon Yellow kind of revel in this spacey, trippy atmosphere. And it's a sleepy sound, but for me, it's captivating in every minute. I love the vocals on this record. You know, how, you know, Neil has this kind of... Neil and Rachel really work well together on this album to create a really special kind of sound. And, you know, I love every track on here. The only one that's slightly weak to me is All Together, but it's not that long anyway, you know. And what kind of shoegazing album closes with a song like Dagger? That's poignant shit. You know, it's it's this acoustic track, but it's it's done in a shoegazing way. You know, there's a lot of echo on the vocals, and there's this really soft piano playing in the background that creates a great atmosphere. I mean, this at its core, this is just a very atmospheric album. You know, I can't get over the song Souvlaki Space Station. It just, the ending is amazing, how all these layers of guitar are feedbacking, if that's a verb, but there's layers of feedback going over each other, but it's beautiful. It's really, you know, it feels weightless. It feels like you're floating in space. And all the while, you got pop songs like Allison, which are coated in this mist of, you know, ethereal shoegaze. You know, Allison could have been a great pop song. When the Sun Hits could have been a great pop song, but they really take it to a much more spacey, trippy, and ultimately more beautiful level. And that's why I really like Souvlaki more than any other shoegazing album. It's well-rounded, and at its core, they were just great songs. You know, when you say When the Sun Hits, it evokes a certain meaning. And not to diss on an album like Loveless, but an album like Loveless is a lot more, you know, solid. Like, when you say a track like What You Want, now a mood doesn't come that you just think Loveless, but each track on here is its own individual world, and I really appreciate that. It's really Neil Halstead's doing. He was, you know, he went on to do more folky things later, which is proof of how, really at heart, he was just a good songwriter and a good ideas man. And the band, with their walls of pedal feedback, created this really special record that has yet to be replicated, in my opinion, in any sort of way. And just a brief note on seeing them live, they still got it. In fact, maybe they are a little bit more muscular now live than they were back in the day. Not that I saw them, I've seen videos. And maybe seeing them in person added a new layer, but it was beautiful, you know. Not everybody in the audience, I think, appreciated it, because a lot of people didn't know who Slowdive were, and they were waiting for Kendrick Lamar. But, you know, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Just, there were moments where, you know, the sun was setting and these, you know, indescribable noises were coming out of the band. And, you know, it took me to another place, and they still got it. And that's great to see. So, not much to say on the packaging. This is a reissue. It's not the full cover. But Souvlaki, for me, gets a 10 out of 10. I love this album. What better way to kind of start album reviews again with talking about an album you love? And there's not much more I can say. So this is Mr. Maximus Film. This is Slowdive. See you guys later.